You're not depressed because there's something wrong with your brain. You're suffocating because the environment you're trapped in every single day is slowly draining the life out of you. And you've been blaming yourself for drowning when the real problem is that you're being held underwater by circumstances, by people, by spaces that were never designed to let you breathe. Every morning you wake up in a place that doesn't feel like home, surrounded by energy that depletes you, forced to perform a version of yourself that isn't real just to survive the day. And by the time night comes, you're so exhausted from pretending, from managing everyone else's emotions, from shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you, that you have nothing left for the person you actually are. You thought something was broken inside you, that you lacked motivation or discipline or mental strength, but the truth is way simpler and way more devastating. You're a plant trying to grow in toxic soil, and no amount of positive thinking or self-improvement is going to help if the environment itself is poison. The walls around you are covered in judgment. The air is thick with criticism. The people in your space drain you instead of filling you up. And you've been so busy trying to adapt to all of it that you forgot what it feels like to exist in a place where you can actually be yourself without constantly calculating every word, every move, every expression. You feel anxious the moment you walk through the door, and you can't even explain why, because nothing specific is happening. It's just the energy, the vibe, the unspoken tension that lives in the walls and seeps into your nervous system. You're always on edge, always waiting for criticism, always bracing for conflict, always monitoring the emotional temperature of everyone around you so you can adjust yourself accordingly and avoid making waves. Your room doesn't feel like a sanctuary. It feels like a cell where you hide from the rest of the house, and even there you can't fully relax because the energy bleeds through the walls, because you can hear their voices, their footsteps, their presence pressing in on you. You've stopped bringing friends over because you're ashamed of the atmosphere, ashamed of the dysfunction that everyone can feel the moment they step inside, ashamed that this is what you come home to every day. You can't think clearly because there's always noise, always interruptions, always someone needing something from you, always chaos that prevents you from having even 5 minutes of peace to hear your own thoughts. The people you live with don't ask how you're doing. They vent at you, dump their problems on you, expect you to manage their emotions while completely ignoring yours. And you've become so good at being the emotional support system for everyone else that you've forgotten you're allowed to need support too. Here's what's actually happening to you in this toxic environment. Your nervous system is in constant survival mode because it never feels safe. And when your body is stuck in fight or flight for months or years at a time, it starts shutting down the parts of you that aren't essential for survival. Which means creativity dies, motivation disappears, joy becomes impossible, and you're left with just enough energy to get through the day without actually living it. You're not lazy or unmotivated. You're conserving energy because your environment is so draining that your system has to ration resources just to keep you functional. Every conversation feels like a negotiation. Every interaction requires you to be strategic. Every moment at home demands that you be smaller, quieter, less of who you actually are. And that constant suppression is killing you from the inside out because you were never meant to live in hiding. You were never meant to make yourself invisible just to keep the peace. The people around you might not be overtly abusive, but they're emotionally unavailable, critical, controlling, negative, or just so wrapped up in their own pain that there's no space left for yours. And you've been breathing in that toxicity for so long that you started believing it's normal, that this is just what life feels like, that everyone struggles this much in their own home. The brutal truth that's going to change everything once you accept it is this. You can't heal in the environment that's making you sick. You can't grow in soil that's contaminated. You can't become who you're meant to be while you're trapped in a space that requires you to stay small and broken and manageable. The reason nothing you've tried has worked long term, the reason you keep falling back into depression and anxiety and numbness is because you're trying to build a life while living in a place that tears you down daily, and that's like trying to fill a bucket that has holes in the bottom. It doesn't matter how much you pour in, it's never going to stay full. You're not failing at life. You're trying to survive in conditions that would break anyone. And the fact that you're still here, still trying, still hoping for better, is proof that you're stronger than you think, not weaker. But strength alone isn't enough when the environment is this toxic, when the people around you are this draining, when the space you're forced to occupy every day contradicts everything you're trying to build for yourself. You need to stop adjusting yourself to fit into a sick system and start planning your escape from it, even if that escape takes months or years, even if right now it feels impossible, because acknowledging that the environment is the problem is the first step toward actually solving it instead of just managing symptoms. Here's what you can do right now today, even while you're still trapped in this toxic space, to start reclaiming pieces of yourself. Create one corner, one tiny area in your environment that's completely yours, where you control the energy, where you don't have to perform or hide or manage anyone else, and protect that space. Like your life depends on it because emotionally it does. Start treating your room or your corner like a decompression chamber where you wash off the toxicity before it seeps all the way into your core. Where you remind yourself who you actually are underneath all the armor you have to wear out there. Put on headphones and listen to something that makes you feel alive. Not because you're escaping, but because you're creating a different frequency that drowns out the poison for a few minutes. Start spending more time outside the house, even if it's just sitting in your car or walking around the block or going to a coffee shop. Because your nervous system needs proof that other environments exist, that the suffocation you feel at home isn't everywhere, that there are places where you can breathe. Find your people outside of that toxic space. Build a support system that isn't contaminated by the dysfunction you're living in, because you need witnesses who can remind you that you're not crazy, that what you're experiencing is real, that you're allowed to want more than this. Start saving money, making plans, researching your options for moving out or changing your circumstances. Because hope isn't about pretending everything is fine. Hope is about taking small, concrete steps toward a different reality, even when the big move feels far away. Set boundaries even when they're not respected, not because it will change the toxic people, but because it trains your system to remember that you're allowed to say no, that you don't have to absorb everyone else's chaos, that protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's survival. You're going to wake up tomorrow still in that toxic environment, still surrounded by the same draining energy, still trapped in circumstances that make it hard to be yourself. But something will have shifted inside you. You'll stop blaming yourself for struggling to thrive in a place that was designed to keep you small. You'll stop trying to fix yourself when the real problem is the container you're being forced to live in. You'll stop carrying guilt for not being okay when the environment itself is making you sick. The space you're in right now isn't forever, even though it feels permanent, even though you can't see the way out yet, because you're building escape routes in your mind, in your plans, in your determination to survive this chapter so you can write a different one. You're not broken for feeling suffocated. You're human, and humans need environments that support their growth instead of strangling it. And there's nothing wrong with you for wanting to exist in a space where you don't have to constantly defend your right to be yourself. The environment that's killing you from the inside isn't your destiny, it's your current chapter, and every day you survive it, every moment you protect even a tiny piece of your authentic self from being crushed by it, is proof that you're already preparing for the life that's waiting on the other side of this. Stop trying to bloom in concrete and start breaking through it instead, because you were never meant to adapt to toxicity. You were meant to outgrow it, to leave it behind, to find the soil where your roots can actually reach down, and your branches can actually reach up without constantly hitting a ceiling that was never supposed to contain you in the first place.